An alarm wakes up a police officer and she officially begins her day. At the police HQ, officers discuss the brand new agency called STAND, which will specialize in unsolved drug cases that have been on rise lately. A few elite officers like Aoyama and a guy named Seiki get grouped together to be a part of the agency, and the police wish them good luck for their upcoming missions. Seiki gets asked to recruit other members, but he excuses himself since he believes that his own department is fairly new, due to which he cannot lead another department fully. The others believe that they need a talented person to recruit other members, and they urge him to accept responsibility, but he still doesn't seem interested. He suggests another officer named Rei Izumi as a potential candidate for the role, and they discuss that Rei is on probation because she messed up the premises check and hence she isn't fit for the role. Seiki insists that Rei is perfect for the job and that he will take full responsibility as her mentor. Meanwhile, Rei readies for the day and arrives at the office only to find that there's no one in the office. One of the drug control department's members, Natsum, gives her coffee and informs her that Seiki and Aoyama haven't arrived yet. Another colleague, Shun, joins them and Natsum advises him to sleep for a while after pulling an all-nighter. They all watch their colleague Yui, who is fast asleep on the couch, and the boys tell Rei that Yui was really worried for her. The others arrive back from their meeting and Rei reports to Seiki that her probation has been lifted, due to which she has come back to the office. The guys give her a welcome back gift, which turns out to be cake, and they gather around to eat it. Rei goes to pick up some coffee while Seiki and Aoyama tell the others about the new agency called STAND and how even civilians can be recruited in it. Seiki gives Rei a file which contains the list of potential candidates, and he appoints her as the scout of the potential candidates. She doesn't think she is the right fit, but she still tells all of them that she will do her best. Aoyama tells her to quickly eat the cake since he has to take her somewhere, and she notices that the potential candidates list also contains his own name as well. Afterwards they both leave together and the others discuss that Aoyama has definitely high hopes for Rei. Yui meets up with the guys and points out that Rei is definitely the right choice since she has a special drug immunity, due to which drugs don't affect her body. Aoyama takes Rei to an office where a man named Asajiri taunts him for snooping around. Aoyama then introduces Asajiri and his colleague Sugano to Rei as the potential candidates for STAND, and the guys tell him that Hattori still hasn't returned from the meeting. Aoyama explains to Rei that Hattori is actually the chief of the investigation section and the director of the STAND team. Just then another one of their colleagues, Arakata, also arrives at the office, and Rei tries talking to him since he is also a potential candidate, but he just ignores her. She tries approaching him, but she trips on her shoes and he catches her to stop her from falling. He asks her whether she can even do her properly in such shoes, and then declares that he doesn't have time to help someone out when they cannot even do their job properly. Afterwards Aoyama apologizes to her for Arakata's sore behavior and asks her whether she feels like quitting, but she assures that she still wants to do the job. In the past, Aoyama and Rei are on a mission which involves a premises check when Rei notices a kid being bullied, so she rushes to him even though it's not allowed for an officer to be distracted during a premises check. In the present, Rei apologizes to Aoyama for thinking about the past, and he tells her that she didn't do the wrong thing. He explains that she was following her own sense of justice, which isn't wrong, and that the premises check was not that proper to begin with, due to which her mistake ruined it altogether. She thanks him for the consolation, and the next day, she arrives at the investigation team's office to pursue Arakata again. He ignores her despite being on break, and she runs after him while his colleagues observe that she is trying pretty hard. Arakata tells Rei that he is already planning to join the STAND, due to which she doesn't need to keep stalking him, but she believes that he should acknowledge her properly since they will be working together. He points out that she is just a Nippo baby who got the job because she has a lucky condition related to drug immunity, and he calls her a princess who needs protection from everyone else around her. She walks away and another officer meets up with Rei. He turns out to be Hattori, and she treats him to coffee while he asks her whether she will be able to tame Arakata. She declares that she won't give up, and he then asks her which candidate she is intending to pursue first. Later at night she visits a cruise party to pursue her first candidate, Hayama, who is actually the leader of one of the most prominent financial groups, the Hayama Group. Hayama is also a celebrity, and Hattori told Rei that he is also a part of an informant group called Revel. The cruise gala is held to commemorate the opening of one of the Hayama Group businesses, and soon she spots Hayama talking to someone. She tries approaching her, but someone collides with her and spills juice on her dress. The person offers to give her another dress, but she excuses herself, and he in return gives her his contact card in case she needs to contact him. She then comes across Aoyama and tells him the purpose of her visit. He asks her whether she said something to the person she bumped into, and she shows him his business card which was given to her. The person turns out to be Kujo, who is another STAND candidate and the head of the Kujo family. He warns her that there are some SUS rumors surrounding Kujo, so she shouldn't approach him on her own. Just then a waiter puts firecrackers into trash bins which circulate smoke everywhere. Aoyama and Rei come across Arakata as they are escaping, and they all along with Hayama escape into one of the halls. The other investigation committee members are also on the ship to protect Hayama, and it gets reported to them that Arakata has run into the DCD team, which includes Rei and Aoyama. Meanwhile, Hayama tells Rei and Aoyama that someone sent him a death threat recently and the same person may be behind the attack as well. A waiter attacks him and Aoyama blocks his attacks. The waiter runs away, so Rei runs after him and even takes off her heels to pursue him to the engine site. The waiter attacks her from behind and tries to knock her out by using chloroform, but since drugs don't work on her, she elbows him and gets away. Arakata then arrives and puts the waiter down. Later, Arakata calls Hattori to let him know about their mission, and he even agrees to help Rei out after seeing her bravery. Rei waits for her ride after the cruise incident when one of Revel's members and Hayama's friends puts a coat on her shoulders. He asks her if she needs a ride and recognizes him as a potential stand candidate named Ootani. Later, Ootani plays pool ball with his friends Kagura and Maki, and he tells them about the encounter he had with Rei. Meanwhile, Aoyama and Rei arrive at the DCD office where Yui notices that Rei has cut her hair. He pleads with her to give him her cut hair so that he can experiment on them to figure out the secret behind her drug immunity. But she informs him that she has already thrown the hair away, which puts him into despair. They both make their report to Seiki, and Rei comments that her condition helped her with the chloroform incident. One of her colleagues, Wadabe, offers her sweets, but she recalls that she has an urgent task and she rushes away. She then meets up with Ootani from the Revel informant group and asks him why he wants to help her out even though he himself isn't willing to join Stand for now. He doesn't give her a proper answer, and she thinks about how all the members of Revel group are the top Gs of their industries. Ootani takes her to meet Hayama, who has also made his name in the Hayama group, and she pitches the purpose of Stand group to him to recruit the whole Revel group. She tells him that Stand will have a lot of powers since it won't be like other organizations, but Hayama simply tells her that he has a meeting to attend to. Ootani then takes her outside where they both come across the rest of the Revel members Kagura and Maki, and Ootani tells them that he is taking Rei to their usual spot. The guys protest, but Ootani ignores them and walks away with Rei. Meanwhile, Hayama calls Kujo and tells him that Rei is trying to escort him, but she doesn't know about their connection yet. Ootani takes Rei to a bar which seems to be a popular place for famous people, and Maki tells her about all the attendees individually, which makes her comment that he must know a lot of people. Kagura gets offended at their interaction and Ootani advises him to stop snapping at her. She then accidentally trips the champagne glass near him, which makes Kagura even more angry at her, and she apologizes to him as she assures him that she will be careful. She then formally introduces herself, but Kagura declares that he isn't interested to talk to her unless she can prove herself. He puts an unknown drug in a drink and asks her to drink it to show everyone that she is really immune to drugs. He doesn't reveal which drug it is, but still she takes the glass from him and gulps it down. Kagura storms off in anger, and Maki reveals that it was just a vitamin pill before walking away himself. Later, Maki scolds Kagura for going too far, but Kagura thinks that Rei is definitely going to be a pain in the butt. After some time, Ootani calls Rei to join him and Maki at dinner, but when she arrives at the place, he informs her that he won't be present. She meets up with Maki, who informs her that all the Revel members have known each other since they were in school and that the rest of them got involved in their own businesses while he got roped in with them. She eats her food and Maki pays for it even though she insists on paying. After the dinner, she treats him to cheap ice cream which he has never had, and she calls him kind and caring. He then tells her not to get involved with him any longer since he is not actually a kind person. Afterwards, he informs Kagura about having dinner with Rei, and Kagura storms off in anger because he has anger issues. Rei arrives at the bar after a while to meet with Maki, and she sees that Maki is getting in a fight with some stranger. Ootani stops Maki from escalating the fight, and Maki then storms off to cool himself. Ootani comments that Maki is fighting again, and Kagura ends up injuring his hand when he touches the fallen glass. Rei fusses over his injury and even wraps his hand with a cloth as she tells him to hurry to the hospital to get it checked. After some time, Rei talks to Aoyama, who tells her that Maki has been involved with some incident which even led to injuries, but she still believes that she wants to believe in Maki because he seems like a kind person to her. She heads home and keeps thinking whether she should reach out to Kagura or not. She arrives home, and just when she calls Kagura, he tells her that she should take a look at where she is going. He appears in front of her door and comments that it's easy to find her address. He then hands her handkerchief back to her and asks her why she was calling him, so she asks him to tell her why Maki was fighting in the bar. He reveals that the other guy had put hands on him first, due to which Maki stepped in and started fighting the guy. He tells her to ask Maki about what happened and then walks away, so Rei follows him. They both arrive at the bar where Maki is being cornered by the same guy from last time and his friends. They threaten Maki that they will cause trouble for him if he doesn't shut them up with money, and he asks him how much they want. Rei tries to interrupt them, but one of the guys slaps her and she falls on Kagura, due to which they both fall on the ground. Maki gets a flashback from his past and he starts to beat the guy up. He yells at him to apologize to his friends and Rei stops him as she assures him that they are alright. Afterwards the authorities take care of the guys while Maki sits down with Rei to have a heart-to-heart chat. Kagura tells Ootani that he doesn't mind her anymore while Rei assures Maki that she is alright. He shares his sob story with her that 15 years ago there was an unsolved case in which an unidentified victim was killed and the suspect was on a run with the kidnapped child. The kidnapped child was actually Maki, and he tells Rei that he never wants to go through the same thing ever again, due to which he gets very angry when someone tries to harm his loved ones. He asks her not to get involved with him, but she assures him that all his friends care about him a lot. She asks him again whether he will join Stand and he promises to think about it. They both then eat ice cream together while Rei thinks about his background and everything that happened. Aoyama and Shun arrive at a house where Natsum is dealing with a drugs case and he shows them the drugs that were confiscated. They all discuss that the drug seems new in the market and that it needs to be tested quickly. Sometime later, Rei tells Sugano that she had Hayama refer her to the next Stand candidate who is a celebrity author. She asks him to come along with her, but he gives her a lame excuse and asks her to consult someone else. She reveals that her department's guys are busy with the new drug case and Hattori discusses the next candidate with her, who is named Makoto. He comments that he is the famous author of tear-jerking novels and that Arakata is a fan of his novels. Later Arakata accompanies her on her visit to meet Makoto and they both discuss how Makoto releases one famous novel after another while his younger brother Kyusuke is a popular young actor who is also a potential Stand candidate. They both also discuss how the Stand project is recruiting people outside the police force because they are trying to adopt new ways of solving cases, and Arakata reveals that Makoto can be a potential profiler since he used to write a lot of crime fiction books that have gained traction. She comments that she read in a tabloid that Makoto was even considering retirement and he scolds her for believing information in tabloids. They both arrive at the hotel where Makoto is staying and reach his apartment where Rei tells him that Hayama has referred her. She makes her pitch about the Stand project and he stops her as he tells her that he isn't interested in the project since it seems very dull to him. He even asks her to leave and she apologizes to him if she has insulted him somehow. She asks him to consider her request again, so he explains that he cannot accept it because he is thinking of ending his writing, due to which he has to end all of his series. And the second reason is that he doesn't trust police because he finds them useless. She still gives him the documents and tells him that she will come back again. She and Arakata head back and he advises her not to take his rejection personally. Later at the office, Natsum tells everyone that according to the suspect in the drug case, the new drug isn't addictive and that the guy is refusing to tell anyone about where he purchased the drugs from. Yui tells them that the drug resembles another drug which circulated in the market 10 years ago called Plus, and that he will continue to research the drug. Aoyama tells Natsum to dig up information about the case from 10 years ago, and afterwards he discusses the latest development in scouting new members with Rei. Later she visits Makoto again and overhears someone arguing with him from the outside. The door opens just then and someone rushes outside. It turns out to be Kayasuke, who then takes her out to eat, and they discuss how she left the documents for the Stand project with Makoto before. He teases her around, which makes her comment that he doesn't resemble his brother, and he apologizes to her for holding off her meeting with Makoto. He tells her that one of Makoto's novels was going to get adapted into a live-action novel and he got offered the lead role in it, but that his brother refused to let the drama get adapted, and the main reason for refusal was that Makoto plans to end all of his series soon, due to which he doesn't have time for drama adaptation, but he mistook his refusal and even argued with him about it. He confesses that he would have definitely liked to become the lead role in the novel's adaptation, and that Makoto didn't even discuss the adaptation with him even though they are such close siblings with a special bond. Later she is going through the candidate's file when she notices that Makoto actually has a younger sister too. She then gets a message from Ootani asking her about the latest situation and to spare some time for his needy but as well. She asks him whether he knows anything about Makoto's younger sister, and he quickly sends her some information. The next day she visits Makoto's younger sister, who is actually hospitalized, and comes across Makoto visiting her as well. Kayasuke joins the both of them and Makoto leaves with the excuse that he has work to do. Kyusuke then introduces her to their younger sister Sarah, who has fallen asleep for the day, and he reveals that Sarah got into a car accident when she was a kid, due to which she has been in the hospital ever since. The driver was a junkie who had overdosed, but the police never gave them any information and suppressed all information from them, due to which they never got to the bottom of the incident, and due to which Makoto doesn't like narcotics policemen. He explains Makoto will be difficult to recruit since he doesn't rely on anyone and always stays by himself. Later at home, Rei goes over the whole situation, and after taking a shower, she snatches on the internet about unsolved drug cases. She comes across many web pages regarding the anonymous case and she realizes that it's the same case in which Maki was kidnapped. The case involves a victim who was suspiciously found dead, and the drug control department back then had suspicions on a certain organization which was led by top Gs of the medical field. She goes through the candidate's file all over again and realizes that most cases are linked to the same drug case, but she hopes that she is simply just overthinking things. The next day Rei visits Makoto again and no one answers the door. She turns the handle and finds that the door is open, so she steps inside only to discover an unconscious Makoto on the floor. She gets him to bed and calls Kusuke to inform him. He advises to let Makoto rest for now and that his publisher may arrive that day, so she should get a hold of his latest work too. She goes to his room and finds the envelope meant for the publisher. She also spots a family picture and then accidentally turns his screen on, which reveals his latest work. Later, Makoto wakes up and she tells him that she saw his latest work, which seemed very different from his usual work. He explains that it's an adventure novel for kids and that he used to tell a lot of stories to Kusuke and Sarah as kids do, to which he wants to write something similar. She realizes that he isn't such a cocky Sigma male after all, and later when Kusuke arrives, she tells him everything. She then tells him to inform Makoto that he doesn't have to worry about joining Stand and that he can focus on his novel for now, which means a lot for him and his siblings. Right when she is leaving, he stops her and asks her to choose him since he is one of the Stand candidates as well. He then asks her out on a date on a weekend when she would have a day off. Later Rei goes out to eat and drink with her colleagues and Aoyama asks her about updates with Stand candidates, so she tells him that Makoto is doing all right now. Yui mixes up the drinks as he compliments Rei for being good at her job, and he then hands over the drink to Natsum for him to drink. He passes it along the table while the others discuss how Rei is going at a decent pace to scout the members, and the drink arrives in front of Rei, who takes a sip and also vomits it back out. Aoyama asks her whether she is going to recruit Kusuke now, and she reveals that he has asked her out to eat with him. Yui declares that Kusuke is definitely after her body, and they all discuss that Kusuke is definitely a person who knows what he is doing, so he may be after something ulterior. The guys advise her to keep a protective spray with her, and Natsum declares that they will save her if anything happens to her. Later, Rei goes to the investigation team's office and comes across Arakata reading an article on Makoto which states that he is not retiring for now. She is glad that he announced it to the public, while Arakata scolds her for sneaking onto him. She delivers some goods to them and Sugano asks her whether she would like to join him for lunch, so his colleague Asajiri reminds him that he still has to finish a report. He also gives him instant noodles to eat and Rei heads out on her own. She spots Hattori and Maki talking to each other, and she then meets up with Maki, who tells her that he is covering for Hattori. Afterwards, when she leaves the building, she comes across Kusuke, who tells her that he is also Revel's client and that he has come to ask her out directly since she keeps rejecting him through messages. He reveals that Sarah's birthday is coming up and that he wants her help to pick out the present, so she reluctantly agrees. The next day they both visit the market together, where Kusuke comments that his disguise will hide him from people, and they both spend the day together as they visit many shops. At the end of the day he thanks her for helping him pick the present, and he spots a huge cotton candy which makes him excited. She notices that he is having a lot of fun, and he explains that he is bound to have fun since they are on a date. He comments that she still seems to be in work mode, but she explains that she had a lot of fun as well. A few nearby girls spot Kusuke, so he grabs her hand and makes a run for it to dodge the girls or any scandal. They arrive at a street where he apologizes to her, and he comments that he wouldn't mind being involved in a scandal with her. He then asks her whether she prefers his brother over him, which makes her point out that they are both Stand candidates from her perspective, and he declares that he will join her team if she tells him that she likes him, but she announces that she won't say such a thing. The next day, the DCD team discusses that they are all awfully busy with the new drug case which they are unable to figure out. Rei whines about being useless in the new case, and they all assure her that her hands seem full of Kyosuke for now. Yui then rushes inside and reveals that he has managed to do component analysis of the new drug, which reveals that the drug is the same drug named Plus which was circulated many years ago. Natsum reveals that he has managed to dig up documents regarding the drug Plus through some shady methods with the other department, and that he even needs to burn the documents to get rid of the evidence. They both reveal that the data related to Plus drug was hidden deep within the Stand files, due to which they have deduced that Stand candidates may have some link with it. Seiki reveals that he didn't know anything about such a connection, and Natsum comments that the Stand team may have some ulterior motive after all. Seiki tells the team that he and Aoyama will figure something out, and he tells the team members one by one on what to do next. Rei gets a call from Kusuke telling her that Makoto has been arrested, and she rushes to meet him. He reveals that Makoto has actually voluntarily gone with the police to be questioned, and that the police were summoning him for quite some time, but he had previously just been ignoring them. She asks him why the police want to question him, so he reveals that he doesn't know the full picture, but they were asking about some anonymous case, and he declares that he fully believes that Makoto would never do something bad. He then starts whining as always that everybody prefers him over Makoto, and Rei tells him that she finds him really charming and even likes her a lot. After feeding him the bone, she tells him that she will definitely look into the case and then heads out. She gets a call from Maki asking him about Kyusuke's case, and he assures her that Revel is also looking into it. He gives her a warning that Makoto may be held for some time and that the brothers are heading for some serious trouble. Soon an article gets published that Makoto has been arrested, and the news starts to spread wildly everywhere. The journalists speculate that Kyusuke is bound to suffer a lot and that his current TV drama ratings will be affected too. Rei visits Sarah in the hospital, where she changes the flowers in her room. Arakata also comes across one of the tabloid articles, and Hattori notices that he looks down, but Arakata assures him that he isn't worried about Makoto. Hattori assumes that he must be worried for Rei then, and since he is a certified Sundra, he answers that he still hasn't fully acknowledged Rei yet. Meanwhile, Rei arrives at the DCD office and tells the others that she couldn't find any connection between Makoto and the anonymous case. Shun thinks that there's definitely something sus going on, and Yui advises Rei to relax for now since it seems like she is panicking. Kyusuke gives a press conference in which he declares that Makoto has not been arrested yet, rather he is cooperating with the police in their questioning, and when the journalists accuse his brother of possibly being involved in a crime, he announces that he believes in his brother. Rei then rushes to the investigation team's office and pleads with Asagiri to make a public statement that Makoto hasn't been arrested yet. Hattori arrives and informs her that Makoto is being held by the Stand team as a part of their investigation. She wonders why she wasn't informed of the investigation, and he answers that she isn't part of the Stand team but she is just an outsider. Rei heads out upset and comes across Arakata on the way, so she confides in him about what Hattori told her. She comments that she had started thinking she was also a part of Stand, and Arakata believes that she would be a burden on Stand even if her intentions are sincere. Later, Seiki and another DCD colleague Wadabe discuss that Rei's scouting mission has been put on hold since the higher-ups have taken the responsibility to scout for Stand themselves, and Rei has to resume her normal duties for now. Seiki reveals that Rei took the news pretty calmly and asked to take on the normal duties immediately, while Wadabe thinks that he should ask her out on a date if she is free. Seiki reminds him that he shouldn't be a creep at his age, and meanwhile Shun and Natsum also discuss the same thing. They think that Rei is taking the news pretty well, but Yui thinks that Rei must be feeling pretty down. Asagiri calls Aoyama and asks her how Rei is doing, which makes Aoyama think that the investigation team must be behind Rei's change of missions. Asagiri tells Aoyama that it's his job to worry about her as his mentor, and then cuts the call. Later, Aoyama approaches Rei and asks her to go home or else she will get caught in one of the guys' plans to go out to eat together. She notices that they are already busy making a plan, and Aoyama advises her to rest for now. She decides to vent to him, so she tells him that it's really rough being so pathetically useless and that she feels guilty at not being able to help Makoto or Kyusuke. She thinks that she is being a burden on everyone and then thanks him for listening to her. The other guys call her out, but Aoyama stops her from replying and tells the guys that Rei isn't present even though they can clearly see her. The guys go out to eat without her, and he tells her that he couldn't have taken her home if she had gone out with guys. Later, he takes her to his own apartment and she hesitates to come inside, but he just tells her to lock the door. He then makes food for her and she cannot believe he is such a good cook. They eat dinner together and she finds his cooking really delicious. He tells her to quickly eat the food as he has something to show to her, and afterwards he shows her a bunch of documents that he gathered through his own research which contain details about an incident in which people were harmed through a drug. He explains that 16 years ago there was a pharma company which was manufacturing a new drug which went into clinical trials, but soon serious side effects started to appear in the test subjects one after another, and before the pharma company could realize the problem, the victims started to appear. He shows her some newspaper articles which show that 2 car accidents happened back then, and she recalls how Sarah got into a car accident. She even recalls another incident from her own past, and she tells Aoyama about how Makoto's sister was in a car accident 16 years ago. She also spills the beans that 16 years ago she also got into a major accident in which a car crashed into a nature park, and he comments that he already knows about the incident. She asks him why he is researching the drug on his own, and he reveals that his father's company, the Aoyama Trading Company, was involved in the funding of the drug. She cannot believe that he is such a tycoon's son, and she asks him how he knows about the incident since the accidents themselves were not officially linked to the drugs. He explains that the manufacturing company manipulated the records records to show the accidents as normal traffic accidents because they didn't want their reputation to be damaged, and they erased all the records about the drug. Rei realizes that all the accidents were covered up, and she notices that the records contain the name of Amori Pharma Company. He further reveals that the one who ordered the cover-up was the top shareholder in Amori Company, who is the head of the Kujo family, and that the secret is also being maintained by the current head, who Rei recalls meeting at the cruise ship party. She starts to connect the dots that the plus drug might be connected to Kujo, as well as the incidents in which Sarah and Maki were involved. He then shows her the component analysis of the new drug as well as the analysis of the cover-up drug from 16 years ago, and both drugs match, which means that the same drug is now being circulated in the market even though all the records related to it should have been removed years ago. They both theorize that maybe Kujo Soma is behind the drug distribution and Aoyama feels somehow responsible for unleashing such evil into the world. He recalls how he saw parents crying out for help many years ago when the accident happened due to the drug, and that he felt very guilty back then because he knew his father had a hand in the drug production. He couldn't do anything back then, but he started researching about the drug as he grew up, and somehow the drug control department became his job as he grew up. He declares that he is going to keep digging the case even though a lot of people just want to shut the case up, and that he is not going to join Stan till he has settled the case. She realizes that Aoyama is following his own sense of justice, and she declares that she wants to pursue justice too. He reveals that he wants her help, due to which he revealed everything to her, and she agrees to help him out in the case. The next day they both tell the rest of the guy about everything, and she apologizes to everyone for making them worry about her. Yui notices that she seems much better now. Watabe teases Aoyama for cheering up Rei on his own. The guys compliment Aoyama for gathering so much evidence on his own, and Yui thinks that they will be able to find out more about the plus origins and its distribution routes. They all discuss that they might be able to figure out the reason behind Stan's creation, and the guys tell Rei that they are with her through thick and thin. She thanks everyone for the 100th time, and then even gets a message from Maki telling her that she has his support whether she is a part of Stan or not. Ootani feels the same, and Kagura keeps acting Sigma even though he shares the same sentiments as his teammates. Meanwhile, Hayama calls Kujo to let him know that Aoyama has recruited Rei to his side, and that Stan is also looking into the anonymous case. He warns him to stay cautious, and at the same time Kujo's friends discuss how they will always protect Kujo no matter what happens. Soon Rei gets an anonymous message threatening her to step away from the case or else she will die. She shows the message to Aoyama, who concludes that maybe the Amori Pharma or Kujo himself sent her the threatening message. She requests him to not tell the others about the message since she doesn't want to be moved away from the case, and she also decides to ask Revel to look into the threat. They both head inside where Natsum declares that there is an emergency. After some time, the DCD members participate in an event which according to Natsum is an emergency event, and Shun explains that it's the first collaborative event between their department plus the fire and police department. The investigation team is also present, and Rei notices a van, so she rushes to meet Kyusuk. He has been appointed to act as the police chief, and he tells her that he was uncertain about accepting the job. She feels relieved to see that all the misunderstanding about Makoto's arrest has been cleared from the media, and that he is getting even more jobs than before. She assures him that he has the support of many people around him, and he thanks her for her support too. Soon the parade event begins, in which Kyusuk gets paraded through the streets as the police chief, and Rei helps keep the citizens at the side of the roads. She comes across Sugano, who is helping out a children's traffic class, and he asks her for her help in distributing traffic booklets among different booths. She recalls that he was present when Asajiri coldly dismissed her the last time, and he notices her discomfort, so he tells her not to take the whole situation too personally. She goes to the backside where she comes across Natsum in a costume, and he begs her to switch with him. He whines about dealing with a lot of kids, and Shun comes to pick some stuff up. He requests Rei to look after Natsum, and they both watch as Shun carries heavy equipment all by himself. A bunch of kids rush up to them, so Rei quickly puts on the costume head on Natsum, and the kids surround him. They kick him as well and ask Rei for water. Meanwhile, Arakata spots Rei chit-chatting with the kids. The kids pull at Natsum and Rei both, and Arakata walks away from the scene while Aoyama decides to help them out. Afterwards, Rei bumps into some of Kujo's friends that she also saw on the cruise ship, and she introduces herself to them. She thanks one of them named Maes for his help during the ship party, and another one of them named Kirishima tells Maes that he is going to win the arm wrestling competition for Kujo's sake because he wants to win the prize ham for him. Kujo hasn't come with them, and Kirishima then rushes away to participate in the competition. Rei and Maes go to the vegetable stall together, where Maes tells her that he is employed by the Kujo family and that he is essentially their maid since he makes food for everyone in the family and even even does their laundry. She notices that he doesn't seem too knowledgeable about Kujo's work and he informs her that he isn't involved in the main family business. He takes her to a flower stall next where he reveals that he even takes care of the yard at the Kujo mansion because he likes tending to the flowers. They both chit-chat for a while till Kirishima appears with the prized ham and he tells her that he had a lot of fun with her before parting ways with her. After the event, Rei is at Aoyama's house where they discuss that they are not finding much info on the pharma company even though Shun is actively looking into it. Aoyama comments that the pharma company has a lot of executives due to which they need to find a walk to talk to the inner employees, and Rei mentions running into Kirishima and Maes at the event. He scolds her for not telling him about the meeting sooner and she informs him how the meeting went and how she wasn't able to get anything out of them. He thinks that the both of them may know something about the incident and that she shouldn't let her guard down. She then gets a message from Revel member Kagura and she heads down to meet up with him. He asks her to stop being so careless by meeting any guy so late at night and reveals that the Revel is trying to dig out who threatened her, but they haven't found any information for now. He tells her to not get her hopes up and she comments how she cannot go out much, so he asks her what case she is involved with currently to get such threats. She doesn't reveal much, so he asks her to be careful again. The DCD team is discussing things when Seiki arrives and notices that Rei seems to have a cold. Aoyama points out that she was wearing short sleeves at the last event and she reveals that she went to a doctor for a checkup but he just prescribed normal drugs to her which doesn't work due to her condition. Yui reads the prescription and asks her to rest her body since medicines don't work on her. He even suggests taking a blood sample to test it out, which makes Natsum comment that he is after the blood sample only. Rei assures the guys that she is alright, so Seiki gives her some documents and asks her to deliver them to Wadabe. He tells her to head home after delivering the documents and all the dudes wish her to rest up before the cold gets worse. She then heads to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs where she meets up with Wadabe and delivers the documents to him. He notices her cold, so he asks her to stay in his office for a little while and then pours some tea for her. They discuss the last event and he then feels her forehead to reveal that she has actually got a fever. He offers to take her home, and when she reveals that she already has the day off, he tells her to lie down on his sofa till he finishes up work. He then gives her a ride to her home, and on the way she gets a message telling her that her scouting duties for Stand have been reinstated and that Kujo is her next candidate. She immediately informs Aoyama about the update and prepares herself for the next phase. Later, she and Aoyama arrive at the Kujo mansion to talk to Kujo, and meanwhile Maes feeds Kujo some tea. He notices that Kujo looks really tired, so he wonders whether it's a good idea to talk to DCD for now, but Kujo just wants to get the meeting over with. He tells him to relay to the others that they shouldn't get involved with the DCD. Aoyama and Rei arrive inside where Maes welcomes them and leads them in. He takes them to see Kujo himself, who also welcomes them, and Maes gives them tea. Rei apologizes to him for causing him trouble at the cruise party and they all get down to business as she explains the purpose behind Stand. She makes her pitch that Stand aims to solve unresolved drug cases by using unconventional methods and that he can become a valuable addition in the team since he is the director in a huge pharma company. She asks him whether he can join Stand and he replies that he is very busy with a Mori pharma company as well as leading the Kujo family. He asks her why he needs to personally join Stand since he can refer many powerful people to her, and she explains that the Amori company has been a leading pharma company for generations and that she has heard that the company is making new drugs due to which Stan needs an expert on drugs who knows about the drug manufacturing down to the dot. He thinks that she should scout one of his researchers instead since they have more knowledge about the drugs than him, and she explains that she isn't interested in his personal knowledge but rather his connection with the pharma company itself is valuable to the Stand. He still doesn't think he is suitable to join Stand and he makes an excuse that he has better things to do for now. Aoyama tries explaining to him that Rei is not an official member of Stand but her job is to scout members only, due to which they need to ask the higher-ups about the reasons for choosing him personally as a potential candidate. He asks him whether he can meet with them at a later time and Kujo agrees, but he tells Aoyama that he has many reasons for not joining Stand which he should know already. Aoyama thinks that his reason for not joining Stand will put him in a worse position than before, and Kujo argues with him that he isn't a part of Stand so he should mind his own business. Rei points out that Aoyama is also a Stand candidate just like himself, so Kujo reminds her that Aoyama also has not accepted the Stand candidate position, so they are both outsiders. He comments that he would have a lot of things to talk to him about if he had arrived as the Aoyama Trading Company representative, and then takes his leave with the excuse that he has a lot of engagements for the day. Rei tries telling him that she agrees with Aoyama's sentiments and that she will definitely come again. again. They both leave while Kujo tells Maes that he won't let anyone stand in his way. The others discuss that Rei was pretty gutsy to pitch about stand, but Kirishima points out that Aoyama was glaring at Kujo a lot. Aoyama and Rei arrive at the DCD office where they update the others about the latest situation and they discuss whether they need to get to Kujo through his friends or guards. Rei comments that she knew Maes from before, but he seemed like a different person in front of Kujo, and others think that they need to keep pursuing Kujo since the higher-ups have particularly ordered them to recruit him. Wade reminds them that Rei is officially the scout of stand candidates, due to which her position can help them reach out to many influential people, and the others discuss that they can use her powers to search evidence for the current case they are working on. Later, Rei visits the Revel members and asks them to help her out in recruiting Kujo. She presents the data she has gathered on the Kujo members, and the others seem hesitant to tell her anything while Ootani goes through some of the files. She tells them that all of Kujo's friends have different backgrounds and educations, due to which she is unable to figure out why they are all gathered around him, and she asks them to give her any information that she can use. Ootani tells her that they don't know much about the Kujo family and that only Hayama is close with the Kujo family only because the Kujo family helped out the Hayama group some time ago. She realizes that they are not divulging any information to her because of Hayama's connection with Kujo, and Ootani leaves her to fetch a drink while the others apologize to her for being so useless. Rei gets an idea from talking to them, and soon she heads back to Kujo residence, which is more than 2 hours away. She takes a bus which drops her to a remote area and then starts walking towards the mansion on foot. A deer crosses her path and suddenly Kirishima jumps in front of her. He tackles the deer and they both have a showdown as Kirishima and the deer push against each other. Rei even falls down at one point and Kirishima then uses his full force to throw the deer away. He declares that he has won again and the deer walks away while Kirishima pulls Rei to her feet. He tells her that he won't let her see Kujo, and she reveals that she has come to meet Maes. She sees that her gift has been ruined, which makes her panic, and Kirishima then takes her to the mansion with a warning that she cannot talk to anyone else other than Maes. They both arrive and one of Kirishima's colleagues, Kaname, tells them that Maes is in Kujo's room along with another colleague, Kiyoshi. Meanwhile, Kiyoshi tells Maes that Kujo has anemia, due to which he feels weak and that he needs to rest for the day, so he should change his schedule. Kirishima arrives to tell Maes that he has a visitor, and Maes then meets up with Rei, who gives him a handkerchief. He recalls that he also gave her the same handkerchief at the cruise ship, and after receiving it, he notices that the weather seems really bad, so he suggests taking her back on a car. Kirishima appears and agrees to take her instead. So they both head out. He comments that it seems she doesn't think Kujo is a bad guy, but she still seems to have her doubts, and just then, Kiyoshi appears. She notices the medicine on his tray, so she asks him whether Kujo is feeling sick, and when no one answers her, she hopes that he feels good soon. It starts to rain heavily, due to which Rei gets stuck in the mansion, and the guys tell her that she won't be able to drive away. They advise her to stay at the mansion for the night, and when she refuses her offer, Kirishima asks her whether she would like to stay at his room instead. Maes tells Kujo about the situation and they end up giving a spare room to her to stay for the night. Maes drops her at her room and she thanks him for helping her out. Later she heads out on her own to find the bathroom, and she ends up eavesdropping on Kujo, who tells someone on the phone that he will be taking care of the sale record for the drugs. She realizes that he must be involved in the drug scandal after all, and just then she comes across Maes. He prepares tea for her, which makes her comment that he seems like his old self now, and he tells her that all of the guys in the mansion are by Kujo's side willingly. She comments that she doesn't want to think badly of Kujo because he and Kirishima think highly of him, and he decides to prove Kujo's innocence to her. He takes her to a secret room where Kaname hacks into something, and he asks her whether she can really prove Kujo's innocence. He then shows her the records of the new drug that Amori Pharma is manufacturing, which is called Square. The next day, Maes arrives at a coffee shop to meet up with Rei, and he comments that it's a lovely place, so she reveals that a friend recommended her to come here. He says that he has a lot of questions that he needs to ask her, to which she replies that she also has a lot of things that she needs to explain to him. She starts off the conversation by asking if they knew about the new drug that the Amori Pharma was developing, and he reveals that they did not have any idea about it. He asks her to explain to him what the drug named Square actually is, and she reveals that it's a drug that is connected to the current case that the DCD is investigating. She recalls the meeting she had with her team after she learned about Square, and in that meeting she reveals to everyone that Plus was actually created by taking data from Square, and Shun comments that Aoyama's suspicion was right because the data for Plus actually came from Square, which Amori Pharma was developing. Natsum points out that this is clear evidence that Kujo is the culprit, but Aoyama says that they need solid proof first and cannot use just this information to decide everything. Aoyama tells them that they need to make sure that no one else hears about this information, and he asks Rei to make sure that not even Maes learns about it. In the present, Rei tells tells Maes that she cannot go into too much detail about their investigation, so he asks her if she thinks that the Kujo family is actually connected to the drug production. She tells him that it's very possible, and he says that he might need to distance himself from Kujo if her suspicions are actually true, but it's very hard for him to do that because of all the things he has to do related to Kujo, which is why he is not sure about what he should do. She asks him to help her out and explains that they will look deeply into everything suspicious to find clear proof about what is actually happening. She says that it's the job of the DCD to find the truth and that his willingness to help them out is also a part of the proof, because if he really thinks that Kujo is innocent, then they need to check if that's true or not. After their meeting, she goes to Aoyama and says that she wants to officially ask Maes to cooperate with them, and he points out that it could end up harming her if Maes betrays them. She confidently declares that such a thing will not happen, so Aoyama agrees to let her handle everything. Back at the Kujo house, Kiyoshi tells Maes that Kujo's condition is not getting any better and that Maes should also take care of himself because he does not want him to collapse alongside Kujo too, because Kujo trusts him the most. The next day, Maes invites Rei to the house and he takes her to the yard where he tends all of the flowers. They look at different flowers and he also teaches her how to plant them. She ends up rubbing some dirt on her cheeks, and how could they have missed to create a corny scene, so he touches her face to clean it. He starts yapping about how she has very small hands, but she is still trying to grasp the truth with them and that she is very strong, so she will never stray from the right path. He reveals that Kujo has been taking care of him ever since he was small, which is why he views Kujo as an older brother, and he states that he believes Kujo is innocent, so he will help them out to prove his innocence. She heads back to the office where she tells everyone about how Maes has agreed to help them out, and Yui questions if they can really trust Maes because he could also be after her body. Shun tells him to shut up, and he points out that Maes will not be able to tell them everything because of the position he is in, which is why they need to decide first about what they want from him. They discuss what they should do, and Rei tells them that she already has a plan about how they should handle things. The next day, Sugano enters the office and sees Arakata's desk filled with files related to the anonymous case. Sugano reveals that the investigation is still stuck because Makoto is refusing to say anything and that they could progress a lot if he just cooperates with them. They talk about how Rei has been very quiet lately, and she enters right at the next moment. She reveals to them that she has been scouting Kujo for a while now, and she asks them to tell her if they get to know any additional information which is not present in the files. Asajiri tells her that they cannot do such a thing because she is not a part of Stand, and she asks if it's because Kujo is involved in the case that Stand is currently investigating. The boys get surprised at how she knows that, and she tells them that she is a scout of Stand, so they need to help her if they want her to do her job properly. Asajiri tells her that they do not have any additional information yet, and Rei leaves the room after thanking him for letting her know. Sometime later, Arakata encounters Aoyama while leaving his office, and Arakata talks about how Rei came to them for information. Aoyama talks about how it was not part of his plan to have Rei go so deep into things, and he says that she is trying to do her best without relying on her condition, which allows her to be unaffected by drugs. At night, Rei gets a call from Arakata, and he tells her that he still sees her as a naive person, but there were also some things in her which he had failed to see before. He tells her that she is not a baby that needs protection, and he apologizes for how he had acted towards her before. She tells him that he was not totally wrong because she is still not as skilled as them, and the only reason she got chosen was because of her drug immunity. She declares that she wants to become stronger so she can protect the people, and he tells her that they might be able to get Kujo to cooperate if they can identify the corpse they had found before. He tells her that it's the most he can do to help her and that she has to do the rest on her own after that. The next day, Maki tells the rest of the Revel boys about how Rei wants them to look into the identity of the corpse they recently found, and says that they should help her out this time because just this information won't be able to pinpoint the culprit. Hayama asks them if they think that Kujo is actually guilty, and Aki replies that they are still not sure. Hayama tells the rest of the boys that they can help Rei if they want because he trusts their judgment, and Rei soon gets a text in which she learns that the corpse is actually Yuki Hibiya, who belongs to Amori Pharma. She realizes that this directly connects Kujo to the case, and Maki also warns her to be careful. The next day, she meets up with Maes, and he tells her that he does not know who Hibiya is, but he did find some records related to him. He explains that all of his records were deleted after a certain point in time, and Rei realizes that it's right around the time when the anonymous case happened. He explains that Hibiya was one of the central figures behind the development of Square, and after some time, Aoyama and Seiki report this to their boss. Seiki suggests that they should hold off on scouting Kujo for a while until they find out how he is actually connected to the case, but the boss says that he needs some proof to make that call. He explains that the MPD currently has all the management rights for Stand, and Seiki asks him if he is fine with them going to the MPD directly to hold off on scouting him. He tells them to do whatever they want, so the two head to the MPD, but they refuse to even see him, and he realizes that the higher-ups are plotting something. He tells Rei that they must have already known about the drug-related rumors surrounding the Kujo family, and he wonders why they tried to stop them from digging deeper into the Kujo family. He points out that all the stand candidates are somehow connected to the anonymous case, and he reveals that he tried to find out why Aoyama was leading stand but he could not find anything. Rei heads off to talk to Arakata, but she ends up encountering Hattori, who talks about how he had already warned her once not to get involved in things if she does not want to die. They go outside and he tells her that he thought that she would back off, but he never imagined that she would join forces with one of the people from the Kujo family. He talks about how she is even looking into Stand right now, and he asks her if she wants to know what Stand is really trying to achieve. She says yes, so he tells her that she needs to know more about the suspect involved in the anonymous case if she really wants to learn about Stand. He suddenly asks her what is the final destination for justice that has gone too far. A flashback starts in which Hattori and his senior named Ida visit a crime scene where a victim has died due to drug overuse. They see the marks of a drug being used on her arm and they find the device which was used to inject the drug. Ida tells Hattori to hand the device over to the forensics, and he quickly leaves the room with an annoyed tone. Another one of their colleagues talks about how Ida has been unable to let go of what had happened to the victim in another incident that had happened before. Ida visits a patient named Sarah at the hospital, and he meets Hattori in the parking lot, who tells him that the hotel case has been closed because the suspect has been caught. Ida talks about how he wants to protect all the people who are suffering that are within his reach, and that his lifelong ambition is to make sure that there are no victims from drug-related crimes. Hattori tells Rei about how another person shared Ida's ambition, who was Hibiya, who was working in Amori, who was trying to create a drug that would help Ida achieve his goals, which is why Ida was also helping him out. Ida and Hibiya turned into great friends, but one day Hattori got a call from Ida, who told him that he had killed Hibiya. Ida told Hattori that it was a sacrifice for justice, and Hattori rushed out to look for Ida. Hattori managed to spot him on the streets, but Ida took a small Maki hostage at that time and managed to escape with him. Ida started running from the police at that time, and the whole investigation unit was trying to find him, but even his other colleagues were wondering why Ida would do something like that. They soon got a lead about Ida hiding in an abandoned house, so they raided the place, but they only managed to find Maki. Hattori, who knew Ida the best, managed to find him before he could escape, and he says that he knew that Ida purposely leaked that information so he could escape. He reveals that he knew that Ida would come to this place because this was the only place they would never think about checking, and because of how he can see Sarah's room from this place. Hattori tells him that he knows that Ida personally lured him out, that's why he is still standing at the rooftop instead of going into her room. Ida tells him that he is proud of him and asks him to hear him out long enough to finish a cigarette. He lights up his cigarette and he starts explaining how he and Hibiya were trying to get rid of drug-related crimes, which is why they were creating Square, a drug that would stop addictions. He talks about how the drug-related crimes would have lessened a lot if they had completed, and he calls Hibiya a genius for coming up with such an idea. He says that Amori was producing the drug and everything was going okay until problems started arising during the clinical trials, because of which the production was cancelled. He reveals that Hibiya secretly transferred the data and continued his research, but he decided to quit out of nowhere because some bad people had their eyes on him. He explains that Hibiya was trying to get rid of the data to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands, and he tried to run away, which was the extent of his justice, which is why he was turned into a sacrifice for greater justice. Hattori points out that a former detective should not be saying such things, and Ida tells him that the MPD is trying to hide everything, that's why he wanted to at least let Hattori know about the truth. He throws away his cigarette and he turns away to leave, so Hattori tries to follow him, but Ida shoots at him. He quickly escapes through the emergency stairs, and Hattori tells Rei about how that was the last time they ever saw Ida. He tells Rei that the police have kept the existence of both Hibiya and Ida hidden away from the public, even though it has been 15 years since that incident. He says that she can probably figure out the answer she has been looking for now that she has this information, and that the reason the MPD is focusing on the anonymous case is because they want to quietly take care of the fact that one of their own people was involved in it. He explains that it will turn into a huge scandal if the public learns that a detective was behind such a heinous crime, which is why the police want to cover that fact using Stand, and she asks him why he is still in Stand even though he knows the truth. He explains that no matter what the higher-ups want, he has his own goals that he wants to achieve, and he reveals that he wants to capture Ida to make him pay for his crimes. She asks him if she can do anything to help him out, and he replies that they need to make Makoto cooperate with them somehow because he was deeply involved with Ida. He reveals that Makoto's sister, Sarah, was involved in an accident caused by someone who was on drugs, and Ida was in charge of that case, but he continued to see the two brothers even after the case ended. He says that Makoto definitely knows something about Ida that will help them capture him, and he might also know where Ida is right now. He explains that Makoto has not said a single word ever since they took him into custody, and someone who does not have anything to hide would have spoken by now. He points out that getting Makoto talk will also help her out with her investigation because she is trying to find out about Plus, which was based on Square that Hibiya developed. He says that the anonymous case will also come closer to being solved after he talks, and he also reveals the existence of a secret flash drive that Ida took from Hibiya's belongings which contains the data about Amori Pharma. He explains that the special flash drive emits its location every time it is plugged into a computer, and a few years ago, the flash drive got pinged at the Kujo house. He reveals that someone also saw Ida near the Kujo house around the same time that the anonymous case happened, which is why he thinks that the bad guys that Hibiya was trying to escape from were the Kujo family. He offers her to work with them because their goals are connected, and he says that he hopes she can make Makoto talk. The next day, Maki gets a text from Rei in which she tells him that Hattori will also help them out, and Natsume reveals to the rest of the guys that Hattori went to negotiate with the higher-ups so he can get Rei to talk to Makoto. Rei tells Aoyama and the boys about her encounter with Hattori, and they also realize what stand was actually built for. Rei meets up with Maiase early in the morning before work, and he keeps apologizing to her for waking her up so early. He asks her whether the questioning is going to happen soon, so she reveals that they are having the MPD negotiate the questioning, due to which they might be able to find something about Kujo. He walks around and tells her that the place used to be an amusement park, so Rei tells him that she is aware that an accident happened at the same place many years ago. He reveals that he was present with his mom at the accident site that day and that his mom has passed away, but he fully believes in Kujo's innocence. Later, the DCD team discuss all the facts about the ongoing case, according to which they are certain that Square was the base drug for Plus, and that they don't know whether Kujo family is fully behind the Plus, but they know that Yuki Hibiya is definitely behind the research of the drug. Makoto had a connection with Ida who killed Hibiya, and they wonder whether they can somehow get Rei to interview Makoto to get information out of him and solve the anonymous case once and for all. Yui reveals that he has extracted all the information that he possibly can from the drugs, and Shun tells the group that they have managed to get the information that Plus will be released in the black market soon in large quantities. Yui thinks that there must be a huge deal that's going to happen soon, and Natsume comments that they need to link Kujo to the deal to kill two birds with one stone. Later, Aoyama approaches Rei and reminds her that Maiase is still Kujo's guy at the end, so she defends him that Maiase is a very rational person who cares about Kujo a lot. He advises her to stop meeting Maiase for a while since he seems to be influencing her, and she calls him biased because she still doesn't believe that Kujo is fully guilty. She argues with him that he may not be a fully bad person, so he stops the conversation and leaves abruptly. Watabe and Seiki approach Hattori and ask him whether he agrees with why the agency has established Stand. He reminds them that he joined Stand willingly and that all of them have a very huge interest in the team. He explains that Stand is gathering everyone involved with the anonymous case and that the ministry can keep a close eye on the Kujo family through Stand. He then confesses that the higher management is pulling the strings of their subordinates for their own selfish purposes, due to which he is going to make Rei do something for him. The next day, Makoto tells Rei that Hattori has managed to secure her an interview with Makoto, but Makoto is refusing to be interviewed. He gives her a piece of paper which contains her new move, and soon she visits Sarah in the hospital room. She comes across Kyusuk in her room, who realizes that Rei has been frequently visiting Sarah, and they both discuss her visit to meet Makoto. He tells her that when the anonymous case happened 15 years ago, his brother would act really weird sometimes and he would behave like he is waiting for someone to contact him, due to which he believes that Makoto may be hiding something. He firmly believes that Makoto is innocent and he is protecting someone, due to which he requests her to meet up with him as if she wasn't already doing that. Soon Rei visits Makoto in the jail by coming to Kyusuk's place, and he comments that his brother must trust him a lot if he is sending her in his place. Makoto recalls that Kyusuk sent him a letter some time ago which mentioned that Rei visits Sarah often and that he himself hasn't been able to visit her much, but Rei always brings her new flowers. He then requests him to trust Rei, and in the present, Makoto tells Rei that he couldn't refuse Kyusuk's request. He reveals to her that many years ago, Masayoshi Ida was the case officer of Sarah's case and that he kept looking out for them even though the police had already told them that the perpetrator was a local junkie. Soon Ida stopped coming to visit them, and they soon learned about the anonymous case. He thought that he was at fault because he had given one of his novels to Ida at their last meeting, in which the police officer had killed someone to take revenge for a loved one. During their last meeting, he told Ida that he would devise a perfect crime to take revenge for Sarah and that he is also the novel's protagonist. Makoto thinks that maybe his novel sent Ida over the edge, due to which he got involved in a crime case just like the main protagonist, and Rei asks him whether he has met Ida since then, so he reveals that he only met him once. He reveals that Ida told him that he gave a good ending to the main protagonist, and Rei asks him about the ending, so he reveals that the protagonist had killed himself at the end. She tells him that Ida is still on the run and that the only hints they have is that he has Hibiya's keepsake, so she asks him whether he can give her some information about it. Makoto recalls that during their last call, Ida murmured something about handing something to a child. Later she visits the Kujo mansion again and she comes across Kaname at the gate, who informs her that Maiace is out for the day. She tells him that she has actually come to meet Kujo and he leads her to the garden where Kujo might be at. He thinks that he can trust her since Maiace also trusts her, and then leads her to meet Kujo. They both meet up and she chit-chats with him about his garden, but he seems uninterested in such peasant talk. She comes clean to him that they have unearthed some info on Plus drug that it's going to circulate in the black market soon, and she asks him whether he knows someone who might be involved with the dealing of the drug. He tells her that he isn't linked to the drug and she spills the whole story to him that Hibiya, who was working under him, leaked the data to his drug in the market, on the basis of which Plus drug is now being made. He points out that she is pathetically revealing everything to him just to get him to admit something, and he calls her careless. She goes away after he tells her to leave, and later Maiace arrives at the mansion, after which Kaname tells him that Ray had also stopped by to chat with Kujo. Late at night Maiace calls Ray and informs her that Kujo has gone away all of a sudden and that he left without any escort. He reads a message on Kujo's laptop that he has gone urgently to deal with a matter, as he tells Ray that he wasn't even sure whether he should tell her or not. Afterwards, she sends a message to Hattori that Kujo may be heading to a drug deal, due to which the DCD is seeking a warrant. She then goes down to meet her team, who are discussing that they are unable to get a warrant because they don't have enough proof. Seiki proposes that they should sneak out and catch him in action, plus they should confiscate all the goods, and he declares that he will take responsibility for everything. Some of the DCD members arrive at Kujo's mansion and declare that they have come to track down Kujo. Maki gets a message from Ray telling him about the latest situation, and Kagura tells him that he cannot get a hold of Hayama currently. He spills the tea to Ray through a message about Hayama, and meanwhile Natsume and Yui investigate Kujo's laptop. They discover that Kujo is meeting the buyer at midnight, and Yui calls Shun to let him know about the location. They all hurry to the location, where they come across Hattori and the full investigation team. The guys remind the DCD that the higher-ups don't want them to move freely, and they offer to help them out since they have free jurisdiction under the stand team. Both teams move inside the warehouse, where all the members move around to look for the dealers, and Ray doesn't spot anyone where she is positioned. Aoyama then calls her over and a group of them witness Hayama and Kujo talking to each other. The group then makes their dramatic entrance, where they meet Hayama and Kujo, and both of them refuse to reveal any information to them, so Ray's group asks to search their things. Both of them get searched and their vehicles get searched too, but nobody discovers anything. Kujo comments that they won't find anything, and Aoyama reveals that they already know about the Kujo family drug trafficking route. Ray asks him what kind of deal they were going to have at the warehouse, and the others remind him and Hayama that they are going to report everything to their higher-ups, which will make things very inconvenient for the both of them. Kujo reveals that both he and Hayama had come to meet someone else, but the other person won't show up now, and that they were going to meet his predecessor Soichiru's attendant. He explains that the attendant had information on the drug plus which was circulated in the market during his predecessor's times, which essentially confirms to everyone the news that the drug plus was actually circulated many years ago. He also reveals that he meant to find information about the current circulation of the drug, and that he isn't behind the current drug, but he only wants to get to the bottom of the matter for now. Hayama confirms that Kujo has been trying to trace the drug because he wants to redeem his predecessor's evil acts and wants to find all about those evil deeds that his predecessor Soichiru did. Ray asks him why he wouldn't tell everyone about the truth, to which he explains that he doesn't want to spill the truth, but he only wants to protect the Kujo family, and that he doesn't care what anyone thinks about him since he is not even guilty. Suddenly Shun opens the trunk of his car and discovers dozens of plus drugs. Later, Natsume tells Kujo's minions about how he and Hayama are currently being questioned since drugs have been discovered in Kujo's car, and that they cannot see anyone for now. Kirishima starts to throw a tantrum that Kujo must have gotten framed, and Ray assures them that they will definitely find the true suspect. She asks them to trust them, and Kiyoshi thinks that Kujo won't get fair judgment. Seiki discusses with Watabe and Hattori that he thinks Kujo was framed because the drugs were too unnaturally found in his car, but the higher-ups aren't listening to him, and they all think that Kujo will be getting the heat of the whole matter even if the true suspect is found. Sometime later, Yui arrives with the results of the component analysis of the drugs that they found in Kujo's car, and it reveals that the drug is undoubtedly plus. Ray tells the guys that she doesn't believe that Kujo is guilty, but Natsume thinks that Kujo may be guilty after all, and they all discuss what they think about the whole matter. They discuss who might be the actual perpetrator if Kujo isn't guilty, and Ray keeps whining that Kujo isn't guilty, but the guys think that his family has always been involved in shady business, so they need to be careful about the investigation. Aoyama questions Kujo and asks him about his car, so Kujo reveals that he always uses the same car. He doesn't reveal anything about who might have framed him, so Aoyama reminds him that he has to arrest him the next morning, if he doesn't tell him anything and that he needs to make amends for the sins of his family. Kujo, the self-obsessed king, replies that the country's economy will suffer if Kujo family is shaken up and that he is protecting all the workers working in Kujo companies as well. He preaches that he wants to do the right thing and that it's his way of repenting for his ancestors' sins. Afterwards, both DCD and investigation teams discuss what they should do with Kujo, and Arakata asks Rei why she is so keen on protecting Kujo, so she answers him that Kujo is trying to pursue justice just like themselves, due to which she cannot let it slide if somebody wants to frame him. The guys agree with her and they conclude that they need to catch the actual perpetrator at this point. The bosses, which are Seiki, Watabe, and Hattori, also overhear them, and Seiki declares that both DCD and Stan teams are now going to be working together to solve the case. Both teams get hyped up and they discuss that they need to find Kujo's ex-attendant first, who he was about to meet. The Revel group team up with them to dig up information on the attendant, and soon Rei gets a call from Kaname asking her whether she has heard anything from Maes since he isn't at home. He reveals that Maes has been acting strange for a while now, and Rei gets permission from Aoyama to search for him. He allows her and she rushes outside to start looking for him. Meanwhile, Maes recalls how he used to live with his kind mother in a small house inside the Kujo estate, but she would get sad every time his father was mentioned, and she became more depressed the older he grew because he looked like his own father. One day, Ida suddenly appeared outside their door, quickly handing Maes a file before running away, and he took the file to his mother, who had turned half crazy. She soon ran away after that, leaving Maes behind, but Kujo always stayed nice to him and treated him like family. Kujo told him one day that the Kujo family has a secret that he can never escape from, and Maes started understanding what he really meant when he got closer to him. He learned about the rumors related to the Kujo family and how the police, DCD, and the law always keeps a watchful eye on the Kujo family. Seeing Kujo being worried about how he will have to take over such a family one day made him want to be of help to him and to be like his family. On the day Kujo's father died, Maes heard a few members of the Kujo family talking about how they raised him even though he was just the child of a mistress, and Kujo noticed how Maes heard the whole conversation. Maes went back to his room and found the old file that he got before his mother ran away, so he decided to open it. Inside the file, he found Hibiya's belongings and the love letters between his mother and Hibiya, which mentioned how Kujo's father tore them apart. Maes realizes that his mother was scared of how Maes looked similar to Kujo's father, and he learned about the dark side of the Kujo family through the flash drive which he found in the file. He realized that Kujo always knew everything, but he still lied to him, and he decided at that moment that he would make the Kujo family pay no matter what. In the present, Rei gets a call from Aoyama, who reveals that they have learned that the one who was actually trying to frame Kujo was Maes, and Maes suddenly appears behind her. The call gets cut and she reveals that she knew he would come here because he mentioned how this place was very important to him. She reveals that this place is very important to her as well because she was also present here at the time that incident happened, and that a boy helped her out at that time despite the situation they were in. She reveals that she always wanted to be like that boy so she could prevent such a tragedy from happening again, and Maes tells her that the Kujo house was a hell for him, so he wanted to make sure that at least one of their crimes comes to light. He says that he deliberately made them feel interested in Plus so he could bring them to the Kujo family, and that he also used the flash drive to make them suspect the Kujo family. He explains that he thought that they would be able to find all the evidence they needed to arrest Kujo, but he never expected that they would try to bring Kujo to their side, which is why he has decided to change his plans, and he points a gun at her. Back at the office, the boys learn that Kujo has disappeared from custody, and Hayama tells them that they can track him using the GPS tracker which all the Kujo family members have. The guys try to convince Kirishima to tell him Kujo's location, and he starts lashing out on them, but he calms down when he learns that Rei is in danger. All the groups suddenly start cooperating so they can rescue her, and Rei comments that she does not believe that Maes hates everyone in the Kujo house. Kujo finally arrives at the scene and says that Maes had every right to live happily with his mother, but he failed to give him that right, which is his fault. He talks about how Maes was his first real family who gave him peace, and that he is willing to kill himself right now to end this whole problem. Aoyama and the rest of the boys suddenly appear at the scene and they tell Maes to put the gun down, but he puts it on his head instead. Rei reminds Maes about how there are still people who are waiting for him to return and that he should fight for his justice instead of giving up. He points the gun at Kujo before shooting at him, but Aoyama saves him and Maes manages to take Rei hostage before they can do anything. He leaves the place with her but lets her go after he gets away from them, and he runs away alone. After some time, the higher-ups of Stand, MPD, and the DCD meet up to talk about their failure, and they start blaming each other, but Watabe shuts them up by saying that Stand will be able to save a lot more people if they let it behave the way it wants to. Outside, Hattori tells Arakata that he will not dwell in the past anymore and that he has decided to move on. On the other side, Aoyama tells Rei that he is planning to officially join Stand and he asks her if she is planning to continue her job. She thinks about how everyone else is fighting their own battles and declares that she will not stop until she gathers all the candidates of Stand. On the real side, Maes hangs around in the creepy alleyways but Ida suddenly appears before him, which shows that the troubles are yet to end. Will Rei and the boys be able to overcome this by finally solving the anonymous case, or will the team crumble before that? Comment your thoughts below and make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more anime recaps.